Happy Easter, race fans! I'm Justin with NRN, the No Bull Racing Network. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I really appreciate you checking out the pit stop. And hey, I just want to mention something really quick. I used to be a filmmaker. And I totally did air quotes right there when I said filmmaker, by the way. I know this is radio and you couldn't see that, but that's what I did. I did air quotes. But I did. I used to do a lot of filmmaking and things like that. And, I wasn't very good at it, but I really enjoyed it. And I have a lot of really great memories from that experience. And I'm really glad I did it. But I gave all of that up to start this channel, the No Bull Racing Network, because it was a dream of mine. And racing's always been a passion of mine. But I saw the other day that the channel has over 100 subscribers. So thank you so much for the support. I know 100 subscribers really doesn't seem like it's that much, but to me, it really means a lot to me because I haven't been doing this that long. So thank you so much for listening and sharing my love of motorsport, the greatest sport of them all, right? But now I want to share something with you. If you are in need of good quality outdoor equipment, then look no further than Southern Tractor LLC, located in Wilmington, North Carolina. No matter how big the project may seem, Southern Tractor has the equipment to get you started and at a very affordable price. You can look up Southern Tractor LLC on Facebook or give them a call at 910-769-0474. That's 910-769-0474. Southern Tractor, check them out. They're good people. So, no racing this weekend. What are we gonna do with ourselves, guys? No racing to watch. None at all. I guess we'll just have to celebrate Easter or something like that. But I hope you're looking forward to the weekend, this holiday weekend. I'm actually about to head down to Oriental, North Carolina to do some fishing. Or maybe just sit and stare at the water. I don't know. Doing nothing sounds great, actually, right now. I mean, isn't that the point of the holiday weekend, sitting around doing nothing? But let's talk some racing. So Mercedes, they were at the top of the charts in all of the practice sessions. You saw that. They were so quick. And even if they were quick by just a little bit, they dominated all of the practice sessions. Then they went out and they got the pole for the Australian Grand Prix. Then they led the whole first half of the race. But yet Ferrari won the race with Sebastian Vettel. So what the heck happened? Well, Mercedes, they were scratching their head about that too, and apparently they have found the problem. Apparently, there was a bug in an offline tool that they used to calculate the delta lap times for the car. First, they speculated that the glitch was actually in the race strategy software that they used, but that actually wasn't the case. This bug was giving the team the wrong delta lap times. That meant that Hamilton wasn't going fast enough. And all that time that he was missing was just enough for Vettel to grab the lead after the pit stop. And it was only by a hair, too, because if you guys remember, as Vettel was coming out of the pits, Hamilton was right there on him. But as you know, in racing, even something crazy like 0.2 of a second can really be a big deal. So it was a bug. A bug cost Mercedes the first win of 2018. And do you know what's interesting to me about that? It's that Mercedes is the top team in Formula One. They have very, very deep pockets, and they show up to the track with state-of-the-art equipment. Not many of the teams have the kind of resources that Mercedes do. They are far more advanced than, say, the teams like Sauber or maybe even Haas. But yet that very technology that produces all of those wins took one away. They trusted the computer program to give them the correct lap times, and it gave them bad information and costed them a shot at that top step on the podium. Instead, Ferrari was standing there. And still, Ferrari did have the pace to stay ahead of Hamilton. I mean, you could say, well, if it wouldn't have been for the bug, Ferrari wouldn't have won the race. And you know what? And you might be right, but Ferrari still was able to stay ahead. Hamilton still could not run down Sebastian Vettel, which only means that this 2018 championship fight could go all the way to the very end. It is really close in speed amongst the top teams. I mean, everyone is going to have to be on their game every race this season. And that's excitement that Formula One hasn't had in several years. But there is still a bit of controversy after the Australian Grand Prix, and it has to do with the lone American team, Haas F1. You see, they showed amazing pace during that weekend, and the team that could hardly match the pace of anyone last year is suddenly looking like the fourth best team in the league. It's crazy. Now, neither Haas finish the race last weekend because of 2 faulty pit stops. But until then, both of those cars were running solidly in the top 10. And that's something that hasn't happened to that team since they were formed 2 years ago. Both of those cars were on par to score points. But where the other teams are angry at Haas is this. They purchase all of their parts from Ferrari. And when I say they buy a lot of their parts, I really mean it. Listen to this list of parts that Haas purchased from F1. They buy their engines, transmissions, suspensions, and hydraulics from the Italians. And of course, all of that is completely legal and within the rules and guidelines of the FIA. Where the other teams are salty is, with Ferrari being the second best team in Formula One, Haas is essentially buying a performing car and not really doing all the work on their own. Now, Haas does have a factory in Kannapolis, North Carolina, where they could build their own Formula One cars from the ground up, but their model is working for them. And let's review. Let's look at teams like Manor, HRT, and Caterham. Where are those teams right now? Have no clue where they are right now, but they're certainly not in Formula One. That's because they closed up shop due to a lack of competitiveness. But this model is certainly working for Haas, and it's completely legal. They're not breaking any FIA rules by doing this. I think the other teams are just haters. And haters are going to hate. America is going to score points this season in F1. Hashtag America. America. The next F1 race will be next weekend in the desert of Bahrain under the lights, one of my favorite Grand Prix. Can Ferrari keep Mercedes at bay? Well, we'll just have to see next weekend during round 2 of the Formula One World Championship, but I have a feeling Mercedes is going to go down there and get that win because they're going to be hungry for it to make up for Australia. But now let's switch gears to NASCAR. Still feeling really good after Clint Bowyer's win, breaking a 190 race winless streak. Amazing stuff. But Kyle Busch, he continues to finish second. And I've never seen someone more pissed off to finish second than Kyle Busch looked at Martinsville. Did you see that guy? He hates to lose. And what's Ricky Bobby always saying? If you're not first, you're last. I think Kyle Busch uses that as his mantra. But I looked this up for fun. Do you know who has the most runner-up finishes to start a NASCAR season? Do you know who it is? It's Buck Baker. Buck Baker finished second in 4 of the first 6 races in the 1954 season. So that's going back a while. But hey, if it means anything to Kyle Busch, Buck Baker in 1954 did go on to win 4 races that season. So maybe good things on the horizon for Kyle Busch. But since we're taking a week off, we've had 6 races so far. So I think it's a good time to take a look at the teams and see where everyone is as far as performance, rate the teams and drivers to this point, kind of give them a report card. And since we're talking about Kyle Busch, let's start with Joe Gibbs Racing. So depending on who you ask, I think it's been a really good start to the year for Joe Gibbs Racing. If you ask Kyle Busch, he might disagree with all his second place finishes and not wins. But that 18 car is certainly very competitive, and Kyle Busch is looking like a championship contender already in the first 6 races. The rest of the team, though, Denny Hamlin has had a few good runs here and there, but nothing that has put him in contention for a win. He was looking really good during the first stage at Martinsville, and then he completely disappeared after that. He also did lead some laps during the race at Atlanta, showed some strength at the end of the race in Fontana, but for the most part, top 10 car. Eric Jones had a really strong showing at Fontana along with the rest of the Toyotas, but we have yet to see anything from Daniel Suarez and that number 19. That is a team that really needs to turn it around soon, or else they're going to be in a hole that they cannot dig out of. But Joe Gibbs, is certainly off to a really decent start in 2018. The affiliation car, though, and the defending champions, Furniture Row Racing, they're off to a very good start, and they even have a win in that column, and a win that they took away from Joe Gibbs. That was one of Kyle Busch's blunders. So Toyota, overall, still showing great pace. Maybe not as strong as they were last season, but it's enough to build on with drivers like Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch who are carrying the weight for that manufacturer and getting the job done. No argument needed, though. The best team in the garage in the first 6 races has been, Lord knows, Stewart Haas. They've won 4 out of the first 6 races this year. 3 of those, by the way, were from one driver on the team, Kevin Harvick, and then, of course, Clint Bowyer, the latest winner from Martinsville. And even Eric Almirola, who took over the number 10 car for Danica Patrick, is having a career year, almost winning the Daytona 500 this season. And he's had several top 10 finishes. He's had more top 10 finishes this season than Danica Patrick probably had in her entire career in NASCAR. So Eric Almirola is having a career year with Stewart-Haas. Moving over to that team clearly was a great decision. The only driver on the team that we've yet to really see something from is Kurt Busch. He hasn't really made a whole lot of noise. He had a really good run at Atlanta, but he wasn't able to get the finish he wanted. But Stewart-Haas and Ford are killing it right now. Even Team Penske has been running well, although, much like Joe Gibbs, they have no wins to their names yet this season. And Gibbs and Penske really got into some really good racing early on in the first two stages at Martinsville, but neither one of those teams winded up with the win because Stewart-Haas came up there and stole it all away in the final stage. But the team that is really struggling the most and failing on their report card after 6 races is going to be Hendrick Motorsports. What in the world is going on with Hendrick Motorsports? I guess they just haven't been able to get a handle on this new Chevy Camaro. Nobody, I mean, not even Jimmy Johnson has been able to consistently put finishes together. And it took him how many weeks before he actually finished a race? Was it Las Vegas was the first race he finished on the lead lap and wasn't even in the top 10? That was the 3rd race of the season. That's 7 time. It's ridiculous. And Chase Elliott continues to struggle, and we keep waiting for him to win his first race. And if Hendrick continues to struggle like they are, Chase may go a 3rd year without winning his first race. By the way, a little fun stat here. Do you remember the last time Hendrick Motorsports went an entire season without winning a race? I looked that stat up so you wouldn't have to, so put away your phones. It was in 1985. That was the last time Hendrick went an entire year without winning a race, 1985. Could this stat become 2018? Could Hendrick go 2018 without winning a race? I seriously doubt it. But the one driver, and the only lonely driver that seems to be carrying the weight for Chevy, is Kyle Larson. He has consistently run in the top 10 week in and week out. And so Chip Ganassi's number 42 team seemed to have the best handle on the Camaro thus far. But as I said at the top of the show, no racing this weekend, so enjoy your Easter Sunday. When NASCAR returns to the track, they'll do so from the Texas Motor Speedway. That's going to do it for your pit stop. Pretty quick one today, as pit stop should be. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Justin with NRN, the No Bull Racing Network. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, No Bull Racing Network on Facebook. We also have a Twitter and Instagram at No Bull Racing Net. Follow us all there to stay up to date on all things racing. I'll see you next week. Take it easy, guys.